Okay, we're on here now. Hey, we got a couple of people on here. Cool. Got Jay Beffa fishing. What's up? I need some Lake Egypt in my life soon. Johnny B's on here. What's up, Johnny? And Mr. Mainer's on here. Cool. Good deal. So what's up, Ron? Where you at, man?
I am at Gunnersville.
G-ville.
Yeah, my first time. So I found my house, only got lost once. Had to call got an Airbnb place, and I only had to call the lady once. I printed directions on MapQuest, and they weren't right. So that's all right, though. We got it straightened out and got home with enough daylight to drop the boat off and go find the boat ramp. So I got that accomplished. And see what happens tomorrow. Looking forward to it. There are bass boats everywhere. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool environment already down here.
And that's the Angler's Choice Championship. Is that what they call that?
Yes, it's the classic for Angler's Choice from last year's events. So, and we've already had our first event for this year, but so yeah, we'll see what happens. I think there's going to be about 300 boats. Not sure how many states are represented by Angler's Choice. Maybe 5 or 6 different states. I'm not sure exactly. So pretty cool. They're giving away 3 boats. We'll see what happens. And it's warm down here, boys. It's really warm. Yeah.
You think they're going to be spawning possibly?
I don't, not knowing anything about this lake here. I don't know, but if they're not, it isn't far because it's probably 65 degrees outside right now. I don't know anything about the lake or anything. Tomorrow will be my first day on the water. But I'm definitely, we gotta be close. So it's going to be a lot closer here than it is at home. That's for sure. All the little pear trees are blooming little white flowers. I got dead bugs on my windshield from driving this evening. I mean, all the signs of spring. You can hear the frogs, and so it's. I'm excited. It kind of coming out of my winter doldrums there in Southern Illinois, and so I'm excited. Hopefully, catch my first Gunnersville bass tomorrow.
Heck yeah, man! I hope it's like a slaunch donkey, like a 10+ grass pig, man.
That would be cool.
Heck yeah!
I won't even be mad about it being before the tournament.
Yeah.
So yeah,
you take those when you can get them,
Oh yeah, I'm setting the hook tomorrow. I'm not good. I'm not good enough on this lake to not set the hook. So I'll have fun. I'll do some scanning. Tomorrow and where it seems appropriate. But I'm going to fish a little bit tomorrow too. And this is a fishing trip for me as much as it is a tournament. So these classics are kind of cool. They're all gravy, So
yeah. Jay says there's several big tournaments this weekend on G-ville.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit before. I didn't know we weren't live yet, but we take out of Goose Pond, and for people that have been here know exactly where it is. But if you haven't been here, it's about 2/3 of the way up the lake, and then at the bottom of the lake is Browns Creek, and there's a similar size tournament the same 2 days that we fish, and then there's a big bass splash or something that weekend. So it's crowded. Plus the weather's nice. So I mean, everyone's going to be fishing just like they would anywhere else. It's really nice. Tomorrow's supposed to be beautiful. So I think it might be my first short stay tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, it's that warm.
Gonna work on the tan, huh?
Well, the burn.
Dude, check this out. We fished that Toyota series last week at Lake of the Ozarks, and my buddy Mike was a boater, and his first day came to the house that we were staying at. Me and Mike were staying at Greg's house, and Charlie came over to the house, and he was from Minnesota, right? So he shows
Really?
up. Yeah, yeah. He shows up and he's got flip-flops on. Regular, no socks, obviously. Just regular jeans or khakis or something, and then a long sleeve t-shirt on. And it's 29, 30 degrees in the morning. And so we're at 26 mile marker of the Ozark of the Osage, and we got to run a PB2. So we got probably a 15-mile run, okay, roughly.
Yeah.
So I got
in 29-degree weather.
Yeah, I got 4 layers on and my rain gear, and then I got fleece lined pants on. 2 pairs of socks, sock cap, fixed up my level 2 sock cap, and he's got flip flops and a long sleeve t-shirt on.
And you weren't cold, was it?
No, man. I'm like, my man over here's got flip flops on. He's like, dude, it feels like 100 degrees out here, eh? I'm like, hardcore, man.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a real quick story, and I don't want to get too far off track, but one of my first years at Mille Lacs, we were there. It was May. I don't remember exact time, maybe right before Memorial Day. And it was like, maybe ice was out, obviously, because we're fishing. It's maybe in the 50s. Water temperature is maybe 50 degrees. And me and my buddy Braden Gibbs are fishing this one area, and all of a sudden we hear a jet ski. And we look at each other and we say, well, that can't be a jet ski. That's, can't be. And lo and behold, we turn around. Here comes this jet ski. And they go on by, and 2 ding-dongs on a jet ski. It was shorts and a T-shirt. And they're just having a blast. They were fine. And we had all the clothes on, man. It was, it was cold. We had coveralls on, and these 2 ding-dongs were out on a jet ski. So, yeah,
there was any alcohol involved?
I don't know. Very possibly. It was in the morning, but that doesn't mean anything.
Right. Yeah. Could have been up all night and just woke up and let's go out on the jet ski.
So yeah, they're definitely built for it up there.
Yeah.
So that's funny. That's funny about that guy in flip flops in 29-degree weather.
Yeah, I was impressed, man. I gave him the ultimate props. I said, "You're more of a man than me, hands down. I'm a little wussy." Craig Rose says he needs a Kincaid report. I'll tell you the little bit that I've heard, and this was, let's see, Greg from Backyard Bassin, who I do the live stream with on Monday nights at 7:30 Central. He went over there last Saturday, and he said it was just super, super stained, even in the marina. And then somebody, I can't remember who I was talking to or messaging with, I think it was last night. They said they went over there recently, and it was about like 6 inches of visibility. No, about a foot of visibility, is a foot to 6 inches of visibility in the marina. And then all the way down. Yeah, in the marina, and all the way down at the mouth of Johnson Creek, it was 6 inches. So I didn't get a water temp reading, but I'm guessing I'm just guessing like mid 40s most likely. And that's tough conditions. That's really, really tough conditions. If it's a 1.5 foot, 2 foot stain and it's mid 40s, you can still catch them on that big spinner bait. But when it gets 6 inches and muddy, that's a really tough bite. It's going to be something.
Gets pretty small.
It sure does, man. It really does. But if you have some warm weather, a couple warm days, it can warm that water up really quick. I like that kind of water, that water color when the temperature is like 52, 53. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. 45's kind of iffy, the person that was texting me, he was a high school kid, I think. And he had a tournament coming up. If I remember right, I was texting several different people last night. I might get the stories crossed up. But anyway, my answer to that was to fish an area that you have confidence in and slow down. Maybe pick one cove and a cove that the fish will spawn in the back, especially if you've had a little bit of experience in the lake or on the lake, and just start at the main lake point and go all the way in and all the way around, or start in the back and work your way out and go slow, fish it really thorough, and hopefully you can get some kind of clue along the way that'll clue you into fishing other coves down the way. So
you might start to bring a pattern together.
Yeah.
When I left today, it was raining a little bit. How much rain did we get up there today?
Well, it started raining about, I want to say about 4:30 over here, and it rained pretty good. I don't think we got more than like a half an inch. It was a pretty hard, kind of a mediocre downpour, and then it kind of cleared up a little bit, and then it started coming down again. So nothing too crazy. But I don't know what you guys ended up getting over there, but I know
we had some rain, but nothing significant. At least by the time I left to come down here to Alabama, it's not going to take a whole lot of rain though because the ground's soaking wet. So I know there's a good number of days of rain forecasted up there, so that could spell some more dirty water.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I'm looking at Jay Beffa's comment here. Yeah, Seabold. I'm not very far from Seabold. My landlady said that I'm staying here on what they call the Miracle Mile, and Seabold is definitely on the list of things to check. I'm at Mill Creek is where I'm at if I look across the lake. Since this is a fishing report thing, Egypt, if anyone's heading over there, I didn't fish there today, obviously, because I was on the road, but the fishing the day before yesterday started to pick up, just doing regular stuff back in the creeks. I tell you, all the creeks in the lake has a little color. All the creeks have some color, but Wagon has the most muddy water in it, and it was just starting to clear up. I mean, not clear up, but just a little bit, one notch below chocolate milk, basically, the other day, and I caught some fish back in Wagon. And with this warm weather, I would think that really dirty water would start to get easier and easier to fish. And thought about your big old thumper spinner bait there, Gabe. I couldn't get them to hit the other day, but I could get them to hit a jig.
Okay.
Yeah.
The Thunder Thumper.
Yeah, the Thunder Thumper. But Wagon was just completely blown out for like a week. I mean, I don't know why I've seen it get muddy, but it was really muddy. And then you'd come back from Wagon and then the other creeks had color in them, but they weren't, they didn't seem unfishable, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But Wagon was holding the dirty water pretty stubbornly.
What'd you say? I might have missed it, but what'd you say some of the water temps were?
I didn't say it. Water temp in Wagon, it depends. In the afternoon, I've seen 59.
Dang.
But that's back in that dirty water with the sun beating on it all day. But you go back in the morning after a cold morning and it'll be 48. So 48 is probably more of a true reading than 59, but it is all that shallow south facing stuff in Wagon is really heating up with that dirty water. 50-degree water is pretty easy to find in the creeks. It's not all 50. There's a lot of upper 40s. It may be all 50, but like I wasn't on the water today, and so it may be all pretty close to 50 back there now. But high 40s at the worst. And Mid Lake was probably the coolest because that was in between the creeks warming up and the front end with the warm water. So Mid Lake was the coolest, but probably the most stable. So, but I think it's Katie bar the door from here on. Fishing ought to be pretty good as long as it stays warm.
Got Full Armor Bassin. What's up, brother? It's good to see you on here, man. Good to see you too. Okay, here's OK Bassmaster says he's catching them out in Oklahoma on spinnerbaits, chatterbaits with trailers. Starting to see red eyes out west here. Yeah, it's the other day when me and you were talking about the fisheries kind of being in a little bit of a funk around here. There's fishing kind of tough. Yeah, and you were talking about how you think this front coming through and some wind. We had a bunch of wind yesterday, and just kind of mixing, the water layers up and kind of evening things out. And because a lot of times, just because that surface temperature is, like you said, 56, 59 degrees. If you're, if you got 15, 20 foot of water, that mid level's still pretty chill.
Yeah, it. In that tournament, that English Choice we had last weekend, we were fishing some surface temperature, relatively warm water, but when you caught a fish, it was ice cold. Because those fish are down there. We were catching fish. We weren't catching them, right on the surface, and so those fish were coming up out of 10 feet of water or whatever, and they were cold. But we really hadn't had any wind up until that first Angler's Choice tournament. But with this wind the last few days up there, it's 100%. That'll get that warm water mixed in, and it'll kind of. I think it probably already has helped. Yeah. So.
And that was did you say that English Choice tournament was a pretty tough tournament?
It was. Brendan McCord, who you had on here a couple weeks ago, got second, had 13 pounds. First place was also 13 pounds. We finished ninth. There was 50, I'm not sure, I can't remember, 52 or 54 boats, 50 something boats. And we got ninth with 9 pounds. So, it kind of went down pretty quick. And, you can kind of always judge a tournament by the bottom half of the field, and the bottom half didn't have much. It was tough. And we had 7 or 8 bites all day long, and we probably had enough bites to cash a check, but we only put 3 fish in the boat, so that's on us. But that's the way my pre-fishing had been. If you got half a dozen of the right bites, you were in 8 hours, you were doing the right thing. And I think Agersting got third, and Dale talked to him up at the weigh-in. I think they said they caught 10 fish all day long. So, yeah, it wasn't a barn burner by any means. But when I get back from the Classic, we have a tournament at the end of the month. I bet that could be a slugfest. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's getting ready to. It's right there. I think everything's just getting ready to take off. It's slow. I mean, we're ready, but we have to wait for the fish to get ready. I know this time of year, man, I'm always like super antsy. You get those first couple like 60, 70 degree days, and you're out there, you're throwing a buzz bait and popping a frog, and you just think it's happening. You're feeling it, but they're not quite feeling it.
You're more excited than the fish are.
Yeah.
Hey, you were telling me before we went live, you were over at Wappapello.
Yeah. Man, I had fun today. I was contacted by Doug Cheatham, I'm sorry, and he lives down there in Cherokee Pass. So we've been talking about getting together because I'm trying to fish some of the lakes that I don't fish, especially in Missouri. I have a tendency to go over to Illinois, and Wappapello is one of those lakes that, people have requested several times, hey, are you going to do any more videos on Wappapello or Clearwater? And I wanted to, but I just don't know the lakes that good. And they're kind of sketchy right now. Wappapello is one of those lakes that they draw it down in the winter. the main lake has got marker buoys, and you got to stay in the channel. If you get outside the channel, things could get sketchy super fast. A lot of the channel bends have just stumps the size of the hood of your truck, and you don't want to be sleeping behind the wheel. And then getting out of the main channel, you know, you can do it and stuff, but I really wanted to fish up in the river, and you definitely don't want to be running around there without knowing where you're at. So yeah, I went down there. I drove down and met Doug at the gas station down there and jumped in the truck with him. And we drove. It was about a 30-minute truck ride to Holiday Landing, which is kind of in between Shiona and the 67 bridge on Greenville. So I think it's probably, I'm just guessing it's probably about from 67 down to where it kind of dumps into the actual lake, Wappapello. It's not quite as river-esque. I'm wanting to say it's probably like 8 miles, maybe. If you guys that are on here watching and you're familiar with that area, let me know. But I'm just estimating about 8 miles. So a good, nice stretch of river, and it's river. You know, it's got the log jams, you got stumps, tons of wood everywhere, and you got a lot of real skinny water that looks like the channel might go through that skinny water, but it doesn't. It cuts, or it's kind of like some rivers you can read real easy. Like you can just see the outside bends. You're like, okay, the channel's cutting there. The bank's kind of cut away. So obviously the channel comes up there, and then you kind of just relax and go with it. And then you can kind of look, you can look several hundred yards down the river, and you can say, okay, yeah, the channel's swinging up there, and you can kind of get a feel for how the river's running. But that river up there, it's the big St. Francis River. It's got a lot of, sloughs and little creeks and backwaters, and, at the mouths of some of those creeks, you got stumps. It just looks like there's like 3 channels everywhere to me. So there's no way I'm running up there by myself, but luckily he's lived up in that area for, I think 30, 40 years or something like that. So he knew where to go. And we, water temps were, I think 52-ish, 52 to maybe 54, and pretty good stain, but it wasn't muddy. It was kind of a green tint stain, maybe a foot of visibility, a foot and a half of visibility. But we bounced around. We bounced around and hit a couple spots, and we caught some fish. I caught fish a way that I don't get to do a lot, and we were throwing a 5XD, and we were throwing it up on the flats in maybe like, I don't know, 2 to 6 foot of water, and then cranking it down off the river ledge and down to about 15-ish or so. A lot of times the boat was sitting in 18 to 20, and there's stumps, just random stumps and brush piles. And the whole game was to hit that stuff with that crankbait. You got clay bottom, so you'd be digging that clay bottom, and then you'd feel your bait hitting some wood. And he was catching like probably 3 to 1. And I started paying attention to what he was doing, and he was really cranking it fast. He had a 6-4 to 1 gear ratio. I had a 7-1 gear ratio, but I have a tendency to, like, when I hit something, I kind of stop it and let it float up, and I kind of feather it through the cover and stuff. He was keeping it going. He'd hit something and he'd just burn through it, and he was getting that deflection. And those fish are sitting behind that wood in the current, and that crankbait comes by and deflects, and they just shoot out and grab it. And I wasn't quite getting that full reaction strike. So as I started doing that, paying attention a little bit more, I started getting a few extra bites. And he had a different color too. He had just a really bright kind of greenish crankbait, and I had more of actually I actually took this off to show you guys. This is the crankbait I was throwing. It's just a 5XD, and I want to say it's like chartreuse sexy shad, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but just a striking 5XD. It was a shad pattern, but I think they wanted more of that green, something a little bit. It was overcast and it was really windy today. The water was stained, and so I think they wanted something. Well, I know they wanted, because I saw what they wanted, but it was something a little bit more loud and a little bit more brighter, a little bit more reactionary. And, I still managed to get a few bites. And Doug was like, dude, I got another one of those in the glove box if you want it. And I opened it up, and I was like, let me try a rock crawler, because I wanted to throw something a little bit different. And I threw a rock crawler a little bit, but that rock crawling gets down there about 8 to 9 feet. And most of the wood cover was on that drop. So what was happening was that rock crawler was coming off that drop, and it was just kind of staying at the same level. It wasn't digging down. That 5XD, when it came off the drop, it kept digging down, and it was hitting those stumps and stuff. So I wasn't making good contact with the cover. The reason I put that rock crawler on is because it was a lot brighter. I had every 5XD that I had was just, I think I had just a typical sexy shad color. This might be chartreuse sexy shad, maybe. I don't know if that's what I said, but I had shad based patterns in the 5XD, like 3 of them. But the rock crawlers, I had some kind of like a spring crawl, something that's got some yellow and orange and stuff in there. So I think that color was closer to what I needed, but it just wasn't on the right body of crankbait. And so I was just getting enough bites to keep that, to keep this one back on. After I threw the rock crawler, I put this one back on, and I got a few bites on it. But man, it was fun, dude. I like getting in a boat with somebody that's got a lot of experience on the body of water, and they kind of know what's going on, and even better if it's something that you're not doing. Cause I had not been able to do lately, because it's been like a jerk bait, shaky head, jig,
or you've been ice fishing
and dropping a mealworm with crappie nibs through the ice, slow stuff for me. And it was cool to just make a bomb cast and just crank, man, just moving bait. And you knew it was just about covering water and hitting those key pieces of cover. And man,
that's the one. That's awesome, dude. And in that crankbait, sometimes that's kind of hard. The guy in the front of the boat's he's gonna have a better angle and all that stuff. Sometimes that's a hard thing to do from the back of the boat. I don't know how that river sets up, but that's pretty cool. That cranking thing, we were kind of having a mild winter up until the Arctic blast from Heck showed up a few weeks ago, and everything froze up. And then when that happened, it was just like all the little bits of progress that were just starting to happen from the longer photo periods, that all got, put on hold. And now the ice melted and it's 60 degrees. And so I kind of wondered, I don't know if I've ever really fished that scenario before quite like that. So I'm curious if they're just going to bypass all that and just go straight to the bank and spawn. It'd be interesting to see what they do when it warms up. But we haven't had that prolonged go down, 2 weeks where you go throw a chatterbait 2 weeks type of thing yet.
Yeah.
So
yeah. It's coming real soon. I know last year, one of the days, a couple of the times we fished, it was definitely the chatterbait hill. That was a lot of fun.
Oh, it's a blast when it's brainless, really. I mean, other than, reading the water in front of you, but yeah.
Okay, Bassmaster says he's got insulation built in. He just
not bad. I think they almost had it worse than we did. When you went a little further south into the west, I think they had it worse than we did, didn't they?
What,
as far as cold weather and snow and everything?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it was, I don't know. It was just, I wasn't expecting that long of cold. We have cold every year. You know how it is. We'll have like 4 days, 5 days, and then it warms back up. And then we have a couple days of cold weather and it warms back up. And when I say cold, I mean, below freezing, maybe 20s for the highs. But just that 3 weeks is, I don't know, that I was fine with it until the lakes froze up. I'll just be honest with you.
Yeah. It was kind of depressing.
And then Egypt.
I didn't know what to do. Tackle Warehouse got a bunch of my money. I didn't have anything else to do than order tackle, so that's what I did.
Well, what's funny is, okay, the first year that Egypt goes offline or goes down to 40% capacity or 60% capacity, we have like the 100-year freeze.
Yeah.
It's not even
Of
fair.
course. Yeah. Oh, well. Oh,
We're
it's
just
fine.
whining.
It's fine.
We're
Yeah.
just whining.
Yeah.
I'm checking these questions here. Let me back up. I scrolled down super fast.
Has anyone been on Grassy or DK?
I haven't heard. I think last week I heard some reports on that, but I haven't heard anything recently. Now Cedar. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I heard a couple good stories about Cedar. I don't know what the water temperature is, and I don't even know what the color looks like. Of course, it's probably not going to matter because we're going to have 3 or 4 days of rain. So, things are going to change a little bit. But they were biting over there at Cedar. There was a good bite going on over there. I know Dave that was on here. I think he caught some fish. I want to say he caught some fish up there at the Marion Reservoir.
The Marion City Lake.
Yeah. I think Dave's still on here, but yeah, he sent me a couple pictures of some spinnerbait fish that he caught.
Cool.
He could probably tell us what the water temps were. I was down there fishing at Lake of the Ozarks, so I was like just trying to focus, so I didn't soak in all that information. But Craig Rose says he has over an inch here in Murfreesboro, so an inch of rain over there in Murphy.
Is it raining right now?
It's a little bit. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, it poured really hard for about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, something like that. And then now it's kind of just a shower right now.
Okay. That's all right. The one of the lake that I'm pretty sure I have this right, but the lake that resists the stain the most to me is Little Grassy. So if someone's looking for a lake to try and still fish a little bit of what's left of some clear water, Grassy will probably be it. And if I was talked to one of the biologists, and I believe that lake is built on the highest elevation of all the other lakes in southern Illinois. And it'll get dirty just like every other lake, but it tends to, at least the front half will tend to stay a little clearer than some of the other stuff if it gets real bad. But if it's warm and muddy, I enjoy that anyway, though. When those fish get right in that muddy water, that's a blast.
I love it, man. I love it. They're aggressive, they're shallow, and you can just throw those moving baits, and it's one of my favorite. I mean, it's probably it's one of my favorite situations for sure. I just like that. What's up, Rich from Hella Bass? Yeah, man, Thursday Night Live. Me and Ron were talking the other day, and we're gonna try to do we're calling it Fishing Reports Live. So the goal is to do it every week, and it's gonna be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We don't know exactly when it's gonna go down, but
we want to put a report out before the weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, don't you think?
Yep. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at the latest for sure.
Yeah, just guys are working, all week long, and they get a chance to go fishing on the weekend, and maybe we can, help them out a little bit, and nothing else, get the mind thinking towards fishing. And Hella Bass, hey, Shoddy told me it was 60 degrees up in Minnesota yesterday. Said all the snow was gone at Mille Lacs. And there was only 22 inches of ice. I say only 22 inches of ice when they pulled the huts off. So
22 inches of ice.
Yeah, and that's not a lot, believe it or not. Yeah, it's normally they measure it in feet. Yeah,
that's nuts. I was proud of my little 5.5 inches of ice back here on the pond. That's nuts.
Yeah, but it was 60. Jason said it was 60. I think it was yesterday. He said that we were texting back and forth. So,
wow,
spring is here.
How long does that take to melt? Okay, at 60 degrees, how many days would it take 22 inches of ice to melt?
I don't know. It doesn't stay 60 up there very long this time of year, but ice out in my short time, I'm not a resident up there, but in my short time going up there, I've seen ice out third week of April, and I've also seen a quarter of the lake frozen on opening day, the second Saturday of May. I've seen the southwest corner of Mille Lacs frozen on the second Saturday of May. So, and I fished 50-degree water on your side. Huh?
Give or take a month and a half when ice out happens, I guess.
Yeah, it's so it but I also talked to a biologist up there, a biologist friend of mine. His name's Tom Jones, and he said the same thing. He thinks it's gonna be early ice out, so we'll see.
And it happens quick too, right? I mean, when the ice gets off, those fish start chomping pretty quick.
Oh, the minute the ice goes off, you can catch fish. They don't screw around. Now this year, the opener's not until the 15th, so there could be some open water for a week or two or three before the season starts. So it might be in high gear by the time you come up there.
I'm ready, man. What's up, small water charters?
I caught. Let's see, what's that?
Yeah, that's all you, man.
Oh, okay. I'm just reading that. Okay, Bassmaster's post.
Yeah, that's what I threw that up there. He caught one last weekend in smallmouth, and he fertilized my boat.
Hey, I can't hear you, Gabe.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
You can't hear me. I wonder why. Can everybody out there in YouTube land hear me? I don't know.
That's weird.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
It's weird. Can you guys hear me out there in YouTube land? I can hear everything fine. I don't know what would have happened. Maybe my mic.
I have no idea.
Got a brand new mic. Well, that's not going to work. I'm not good at sign language. Huh. Can you guys hear me out there? Let me scroll down here and see what everybody's saying. Man, this was going so good. I can hear you. I can hear you both. They can hear us both. Now, how do I tell Ron that? Type Ron a comment here.
Can the other folks hear you? Okay, it's just me then.
I don't know why you can't hear me. Still can't hear me? Still can't hear me?
Want me to sign out?
Yeah. Yeah, sign out. Yes. Sign out and come back in. And then, yeah.
I'll sign out.
Okay. All right. I'm going to shoot Ron a text, man. We were just getting ready to talk about Lake of the Ozarks. Let me give him a text here. I don't know what happened. You guys can hear. Did Ron hit the speaker button? I don't know. He must have hit something because all of a sudden he was gone. Let me call him real quick and get him on there. He's not getting away that easy. He's got some more stuff to talk about. Just be patient with me, folks. See if we can get Ron on here. Hey, can you hear me now?
I was going to try back in with your email.
Yeah, go ahead and click back in on the link. And everybody's saying that they could hear both of us, but yeah, I could hear you fine.
My phone or something.
Yeah. Yeah, just hit that link again. I'll be hanging out for you.
All right, buddy.
All right. So let's go into Lake of the Ozarks real quick while Ron is coming back. He's going to hit that link and jump back on here with us. I fished that Toyota series down at Lake of the Ozarks this weekend, or actually it was Thursday and Friday. And we got down there. Well, Mike was down there like Saturday. I stayed with Mike Marfell. You guys have probably seen him on the live stream. He's been on a guest a couple times. But he was really having trouble even getting some bites. So there was ice on the lake the lake had been iced over just like any other lake around here. And the water temps were like 34 degrees. And every morning the lake would freeze up. You'd have like a 1/4 inch of ice and you had to break through the ice. And it was just, here's Ron coming in. Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Yeah. Well, cool. I don't know. Something about the Alabama air or something. Who knows? But I was just
big bass flashed across the street.
That's what it was. It's too many bass boats, man. There's too many bass boats in there. They blocked all the frequencies or something.
Yeah.
No, I was talking about I was just starting to talk about Lake of the Ozarks, how I fished that Toyota series down there, and every morning there'd be like a 1/4 inch of ice on the lake. It'd get up to like 36, but at night it would just suck back up and you'd have like a 1/4 inch of ice. So you couldn't really run anywhere. Mike was down there. I think I want to say it was like, let's see, I got down there on Tuesday night. Yeah. So Tuesday morning when Mike went out of the cove, he backed out of his slip, into ice in the cove. And he literally idled for like an hour and a half before he could find any open water. So he idled from like the 26-mile marker to, I think he said like the 14-mile marker or something, just idling, just breaking ice.
10 miles?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
And then by that time, there were enough boats that had been idling that in the sun out, and it kind of started melting some of the areas to where you could just fish. You couldn't really fish where you wanted to fish. It's kind of like one of those deals where you just had to find a place to fish just to, keep your sanity. And it was just that kind of deal. And I know when I got down there Tuesday night and we fished Wednesday morning, and it was kind of the same thing. We, we had to break through ice, and, you could fish 20 yards into a cove, and then you look back and you see all the stuff that you want to fish, and it's just solid ice. So you could fish like the main lake point, and that was it, And so I think he caught like 1 or 2 keepers in practice, and the pre-practice I didn't get a bite. He got a couple bites, and then the morning of the tournament, that's when No Socks Charlie showed up. And we had to idle. We ran 3 wide, and we busted through ice. We were running like up on pad, like 40 miles an hour, busting through about 1/4 inch ice for probably like 7 miles, something like that. Just on pad going through ice, because we had to get over there to the tournament site. It was wild, man. It was I'd never done that before. I've broken through some ice in my John boat, just some skim stuff, nothing crazy. But to actually be up on pad and run through the ice, and we thought we were fine. He thought his boat was fine, and he found out like actually after the tournament Thursday, we went back out and fished. We fished on, it was Thursday, Friday. We fished on Saturday. And when we put his boat back up on the trailer, he thought everything was fine. We talked about it, and he's like, wow, that's crazy. I figured he would be scratched up or something. And then when he got home on Sunday, he sent me a text. He's like, dude, we did not escape unscathed. He said half my keel guard is ripped off. So he thinks what happened was that morning that he was nose into the slip and he had to back out into that ice. He thinks that the lip of the ice caught the keel protector and just peeled it off, because it's just adhesive on there, because the part that would be where you think it would be ripped off from the ice going forward was fine. That's kind of where it stopped at or something, but he had a theory and it looked like it was peeled up from the back. And so that's kind of what we're thinking, that happened. But
That's
yeah,
odd.
super tough tournament. Yeah, it does. But I think his gel coat and everything is fine. I think it's just a matter of going and getting another keel protector put on, or keel guard, or whatever.
Did with that ice the way it was, did that put a lot of boats in small areas for the tournament where there was open water?
Yeah. So PB2 is in the Grand Glaze, and the glaze is typically, it's a little more stained, especially towards the back. And that's where your warmer water was. So you could go back in there, and most of it was open. But as you went towards the Osage, that's where you really ran into a lot of the ice. So my first day partner, we started in the glaze, and he was live scoping with an A-rig. He was seeing fish, and they were moving away from his A-rig. It was kind of depressing. The water was 36 degrees, but he'd have the fish scoped, and here comes his A-rig, and the fish would move away. And it was kind of frustrating. And he caught some fish up the Grabois the day before in practice, a decent limit. So we decided after a couple hours messing around with those fish that we were going to run up the Grabois. And that's probably, I haven't been on Lake of the Ozarks enough to know the exact mileage, but just ballpark maybe 10 miles or something. Probably less than that, actually, probably 5-6 miles to the mouth of the Grabois. But as we got up there closer, the ice just started getting thicker and thicker and thicker. And we were looking at the mouth from a distance, and it was just solid ice. And he didn't want to go. He was going to, he's going to be selling his boat really soon. I think he might have already sold it. He's waiting for his new one. But anyway, he just didn't want to, scratch anything up and go through that. So we decided to just try to find a place to fish. And every place we'd go up to, there's ice across the cove. And then we go up to another one, lay down, and you could fish like 20 yards back, and then that was it. So just the main lake points. So we busted, we just hit a UE and went back in the glaze and fished around there. But super tough bite, man. The guy that won it, he was live scoping with an A-rig and a jerk bait and stuff. I think he said he saw every fish that he caught. He was actually on the Bash University the other night. Pretty good podcast. If you haven't seen that, he really breaks down what he's doing, talks about a lot of the details. And one thing he said, there's a big shad kill on Lake of the Ozarks. And one thing he said is the area that he was fishing, there wasn't quite as much of a shad kill. So he thinks that the fish were, instead of running around sucking up all the wounded shad, it was more like a natural setting. It was more of, they were easier to kind of find and stuff. Plus, he's got that thing dialed in, and he had his rig dialed in, and just it wasn't an accident that he blew the fill away by like 16 pounds. But
there's been several examples of guys being dominant with that technology, and I'm looking forward to when I get mine. I'm going to get I'm set up for the active target. They're just hard to get right now. The demand is so high, and it's interesting, now that this technology is spreading through the ranks, so to speak. Buddy of mine was fishing that same tournament at Angler's Choice at Egypt, and it's been tough down there, and he said the same thing. He said he was watching, they caught fish pre-fishing, went back to the same area and watched those fish leave when they presented a bait. In the same areas they had caught them pre-fishing. And he said not only leave, but skedaddle, like gone. Like the lure spooked them or something, and then they would just get out of there. So interesting.
Yeah. It's when they're that negative. I don't know. It's kind of one of those deals where you have to have a bunch of groups of fish and just count on, 75% of them being negative, and just hope you got some that will respond to your rig. I don't know if you can see that question from Jay. He says, Ron, I need some guidance on pre-spawn smallies. He's fishing
Yeah.
out there at Milford Lake in Kansas. It's just kind of a smallmouth lake. He's got a big tournament coming up soon.
What tournament's out there?
That's the Bass Nation deal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, just like it's pre-spawn, super aggressive. Of course, my experience is on Mille Lacs, so I'm not sure how that transfers everywhere. But if you're several weeks off of the spawn, you know, if it's early to mid pre-spawn, that's a lot different than right before spawn. There'll be, and I don't know anything about the lake he's on, but assuming there's a good population of fish in the lake of smallmouths, they can be in some really big groups. And if you find them, you can do some serious damage. The spawning areas on Mille Lacs, a lot of times what happens, you know, they'll be staged out not too far from their winter areas, and they'll have a little path that they take as they go up to their spawning stuff they spawn on Mille Lacs. But there's some areas where the smallmouth will actually go shallower during pre-spawn to and I think they're literally just warming their eggs or developing their eggs or whatever. And then they'll back off into these flats, and you know, there's like boulder fields and stuff where they'll spawn. And you'll see wolf packs of like 50 of them swimming. I mean, just visually, you'll see them. And but they're very congregational type of fish pre-spawn on Mille Lacs. I don't know how that lake is, but they'll tend to be in those same areas every year. They'll pre-spawn in the same areas that just like the same areas that they'll spawn. If it's clear water, they there's no secret, jerk bait and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know if you've ever thrown a hair jig. And what I mean by a hair jig, I'm not talking about like a white big jig we jerk off the bottom like we're imitating shad for largemouth, but like a crappie jig, a marabou, anywhere from a 1/16 to a quarter. Marabou jig. Seth Fighter has one through Outcast Tackle. There's a VMC makes a good one that you can get. I think they're at Tackle Warehouse. And you throw that out there on on that braid fluoro deal. I usually throw on 10-pound braid with 6 or 8-pound fluoro, and you throw that out there and you literally reel it back in, just as basically about as slow as you can just turn the handle on that, and you don't impart any action to the bait. It's just it's the ultimate do nothing. And I don't know what it is about that hair jig and smallmouth. First time I threw that, I thought I was like, what am I gonna do? But after you catch one, you don't have any problem keeping doing it because they destroy it. You're just reeling in this little black hair jig, and all of a sudden you got a 4-pounder on your line. It's just it's kind of it's an interesting bite. But that hair jig seems to play everywhere there's smallmouth in clear water, and this, well, really all year long for them, but it plays in the spring. And the other thing, if there's a lot of times they put tinsel in they'll put some green tinsel or something in the marabou, and that's to catch the fisherman. That's not to catch fish. Clip all the tinsel out of it. You don't want any tinsel in it. And that nice soft marabou that when it's in the water, it kind of flows like an eel, kind of. And that's a smallmouth killer.
What do you think? Think it's a leech or something, or a
I don't.
Like
It
a
could
baby
be.
catfish or something, maybe like a bullhead. Do you have black bullheads up there?
Yeah, there's bullheads up there, and then they have this other fish up there called a sculpin.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And you know, the other that hair jig is really good also around the bug hatch. After spawn, there's usually a big bug hatch, and well, there's several through the year, but there's usually a big one right after spawn, and they'll come up and eat those. You'll see them on there. They look like, you know, we see a school of shad, and you'll look at your graph and you'll see this cloud down mid water column, and it's these bugs coming off the bottom, and it's pretty wild. And when that's happening, that hair jig plays too, but. That might be something out there that maybe a lot of guys, if you go to Minnesota or Canada or anywhere, you know, locals all know about the hair jig, but maybe out in Kansas, that might be something that he might have an advantage with. I don't know. But
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. Saw Johnny B on here, my boy Johnny B. Yeah, we need to get out in the water too. He was actually talking about the photo period is more important or just as important as, you know, the water temperature. And that's something like here was his statement right here. What matters more, the photo period or water temperature? What do you think about that?
It's but seasonally the photo period is most important, but maybe on a daily basis, you know, or on a specific trip, the water temperature is the thing that makes a successful day or not. I think the photo period will position fish. I mean, the migration, you know, whatever, you know, each lake has its own little route that those fish take. And I think the photo period, those fish probably follow whatever they're going to do in general based on that photo period. But as far as biting when you're on the lake, the water temperature may play more into your success that particular day. Doesn't mean the fish haven't moved where they're supposed to move, but the water temperature may not, you know, may make them or make them not bite, you know, active or not active. What do you think?
I think the photo period length of the day causes the fish to make their moves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, say from a wintering hole to their first staging area in the pre-spawn period, the photo period can cause that to happen. Yeah. And then it'll move them along even further. But until they get, and along that way, there'll be feeding windows, feeding periods where they'll slide up and feed, and it'll be really good. And maybe that's a day where, you know, it was a sunny day and that surface temperature warmed up, you know, 4 or 5 degrees, and they got up there and they fed for a little bit. But then until it's consistently at the right temperature, they're not going to stay up there. They're going to move back down. Yeah. And then once the water temperature has become consistent throughout the water column and it's conducive to what they're, you know, what's on their mind, which is the spawn, then you'll see that final movement up shallow, and that'll be that late pre-spawn to spawn, and then you'll have that pre-spawn thing kind of going on for, you know, a couple months or whatever. And that's historically, that's when we think of the really good fishing. That's when the, you know, everybody's catching them on your chatterbaits and your spinnerbaits and the moving stuff, the lipless and the square bills. That's kind of what's going on. They've kind of they've gotten past that pre-spawn period, and they're right in the late pre-spawn to the spawn thing. And that's, they're just up there shallow, and that's what we all like. I mean, that's the funnest fishing, and that goes on for a couple months, and then it gets tough again, you know. Then
there's always a few stragglers behind, and there's always a few that are the first ones to go do it. And but that they play hand in hand. But that photo period is, they know when the days are getting longer. I'm convinced of that. And the other thing, this is just me spitballing. This isn't, you know, there's something about that 39-degree water temperature. And I've got a theory, and this is just Ron's theory. This isn't any,
The theory
water,
according to Ron.
Yeah, theory according to Ron. So you might want to go get a drink of water or something right now. But the water is its most dense at 39.2 or 39, whatever. It's 39 point something degrees is when water is its most dense. And that's why ice floats. So as that water warms, like when we had skim ice, or we had 5 inches of ice, where we had, as that melts and that water warms, when it gets to 39 degrees, it sinks. And it'll sink down to wherever there's also 39-degree water. And if it's colder than 39 all the way to the bottom, it'll sink all the way to the bottom. And that's what causes the mixing in the lake. Causes the spring and the fall turnover. And I think in the spring and also in the fall, when you start getting that mixing from that 39-degree water sinking, those fish, I think that's a signal to them somehow or another. All of a sudden that 15, 20 foot water that they've been sitting in or whatever, that, all of a sudden the water starts changing on them. So their environment's changing. And it always seems to me like when we get to that 39 to 40-degree mark, that's the magic. It seems for me, it's my confidence goes way up when I get to see that 39 and really 40-degree water. If I see that, I'm confident. When it's colder than that, I tend to struggle, and maybe that's more mental, but there's something about that.
Oh yeah. 42 to me, 42-degree water is when I start feeling like I can catch them. 42 to 43. Anything below that, I know it's going to be tough. 38 and below is just about lights out. It's tough. Yeah. It's super, super tough. I mean, you got to put it right on their nose, and you got to be holding your mouth right, standing on one leg, and it's got to be perfect conditions outside. But sometimes, but 42 to 45 is really good fishing, and then of course when it gets to that 50, sometimes that 52 can be a tough water condition. You can't really, nothing is absolute, so it depends on the conditions. Like 52, if it was 43 and then all of a sudden in 2 days it gets up to 52, sometimes that super big swing can screw everything up.
The fish don't like those really sudden changes. It takes them a while to adjust to that. But you have slow, steady warming water.
Yeah,
that's
right.
That's ideal. Whether it's 45 and steadily warming or 50 and steadily warming, whatever, that's ideal when it's just that slow, steady, consistent. But those big swings in water temperatures can be really tough.
Yeah, I've been over there, like Cedar, for instance. Fish one day and it's like 44 degrees, and then you go back three days later and it's 53, 52, 53, and you're like, man, where's my frog box? It's gonna be on, and you can't even get a bite. You're like, come on, it's 53 degrees. This is supposed to be easy, but it was. It just jumped so quick that that water that's a little bit deeper, it wasn't up there yet. Those fish that are down there in 6-7 feet of water, they don't know that it's maybe they don't know it's 52 degrees up on the top. They're just not ready to get up in it. Just not time. So it'll fool you sometimes. Okay, Bassmaster says, what is Ozark like? I want to fish it so bad. Lake of the Ozarks, man. Okay, let me break it down real shortly for you. It's got like 60,000 docks. So if you like flipping and skipping a jig, it's an unlimited amount of opportunities to do that stuff. It's not like Lake of Egypt, which is a lake that Ron lives on, that has docks and you cannot cast within 10 feet. It's wide open. I'm not saying if you snag somebody's pontoon cover, they're not going to come down and jump in the boat and try to beat you up. but you can fish the docks if you want to. And then it's got several river arms. You know, you got the Niangua, the Little Niangua, you got the Gravois and the Grand Glaze, and then you got the Osage. And it's probably, and then you got the all the way up the Osage, is what they consider the river, is a completely different body of water too. It fishes completely different. And I think it's 95 miles from Truman to Ozark Dam. So that's your section. So you've got 90 something miles of water to fish, and all the rivers that go up off of the Osage, and 60,000 docks. And my buddy Mike Marfeld told me that it has as much shoreline as the state of California, I believe, California or Florida. Yeah, because it has so many big, it's just jagged all the way around. So
yeah, I haven't fished in a long time, but it's just cove after cove, or arm after arm after arm, and yeah,
and it's rock. There's no grass. At one time there was grass, and we had Lawson Hibden on here a couple weeks ago on the Monday night live stream, and he said his grandfather and dad used to talk about when there was grass long time ago. And then of course the dock owners will, spray the grass to kill it, because it clogs up their props, and when they're trying to swim, they get grass around the docks and stuff. So that's a long time ago when they had grass, but it's straight up rock. Yeah. Rocks and docks and drops.
We used to take a family vacation every Easter at Lake of the Ozarks. And to show you how dated that was, there was grass all the time then. That was
really,
this dates back to the 80s. And there was grass everywhere.
I couldn't imagine fishing that lake with grass. I bet it was just even more phenomenal, because it's got a really good population of 3 to 4 pound fish in it. And I bet those 3 to 4 pound fish were 4 to 6 pound when it had grass, I would imagine.
It was incredible, the fishing. And my uncle, one year, there was a BASS event right before our family vacation at Easter. And I don't know if the place is still there. We used to stay at a place called Bass Point Lodge at Osage Beach. And anyway, my uncle found out where BASS released all their fish from the tournament. We didn't leave that cove for like 3 days. It was insane.
Hey, man. I mean,
it was family vacation. We had a blast.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, it was fun.
We were coming out of the last day of that Toyota series. We were coming out of a PB2, and the release boat, the pontoon, was out about 1,000 yards in front of us, and we just kind of were like, man, if the sun wasn't setting, we would just follow that boat and see where they're going to dump all those fish. but we had like a 15-mile run, and the sun was setting, so we just blew past them. But that's kind of the breakdown on Lake of the Ozarks, Cody. Just a lot of rocks. It's all about rock transitions, and when they're pulling current, those fish definitely move out on those main lake points, and it can be phenomenal. That was happening a lot last year, and the fishing was just off the hook. It was, I didn't get to experience it, but it took a lot of weight to win the tournaments, and everybody was just posting pictures all over Facebook and Instagram and stuff of really nice bass. But it's a cool lake, man. I got the BFL down there Saturday. I'm fishing the BFL on Lake of the Ozarks, so I'm leaving Friday afternoon. I'm just going down and jumping in the boat. I was there last week. I kind of got an idea of what I'm going to do. And as a co-angler, it's your mercy is on the boat, or whatever they're going to do. So I've got my confidence baits, and like this bait right here, I was going to show this to you guys earlier. This is the Cumberland Pro Procaster jig, and I've thrown this a little bit around here, but I haven't thrown it other than Pyramid. I threw it in rock a little bit, but Pyramid State Park doesn't have. It's got some rock, but it's got a lot of that clay bottom, dirt bottom, but I hadn't really given this thing a real workover in a straight up rock lake. And Saturday after the tournament, me and Mike went out for about 7 hours, and I threw this jig for 7 hours. This is the same jig. I never lost it. Okay. And look at the head on that thing. It's still got paint on it. It's scuffed up a little bit. I mean, it's roughed up, but you know, most jigs that I have would have, you know, lead showing just from hours and hours of dragging it on rock. And but yeah, I caught him good on this thing, and it came through, you know, come through rock. I was super impressed. I got hung up twice, and I was just about getting over it and popping it off. But I don't know. This was something I really caught them good on that Saturday on this jig, and this is the Naked Crawl color. It's got a little bit of, it's got some kind of orangish in it, and it's got green pumpkin. I just got a little green pumpkin speed crawl on there with a little bit of chartreuse. It's got that wire weed guard. But something about this head design, that it's got a slight kind of wedge triangular design on it. I don't know, but it impressed the crap out of me. Really, really good. So this is back to where I started at. This is something I'm going to be tying on because I've got confidence. I feel like I could just jump in the boat, and if we're around fish that are on the bottom eating crawfish, this is going to pay off. And I made that finesse collar, you know, that spider collar or whatever. This was just a full length jig. So I just trimmed it up real good right here. Just made that collar because right now they're really biting those finesse jigs down there. You know, when Lawson Hibden was on there, he was talking about the Dirks jig, and then like the jewel finesse football jig. That's what Mike was throwing. And then, so I trimmed this up, and it was doing what it was supposed to do. But that finesse jig right now in that colder water is kind of what you want, in my opinion. So I'm going to break open a couple more of these jigs just like that, and I'll have those tied on. And I think I'm going to have a jerk bait, and the A-rig, you got to have an A-rig, unfortunately, right now. And I think I'll probably have a DT6 too, and a rock crawler, because I don't know exactly. We've had a lot of warm days. I don't know exactly where that water temperature is. I mean, it was, you know, back in the Glaze, we saw 52-ish, 52 to 54. Main Lake was 36 to 38. But we've had a bunch of warm nights and a bunch of warm days. So, you know, that could
click everywhere.
Yeah, that DT6 and a rock crawler could be playing down there. But I certainly don't want to take more than like 6 rods. I don't want to get spun out and be trying too much. You know, I think I'm starting to, you know, as I fish a little bit more and I fish these tournaments out of the back of the boat, it seems like if you can just get a couple or three things going and just stay with them, you seem to have better luck, you know, instead of trying to, you know, the last thing you want to be doing is changing baits all the time, fishing something for 15 minutes and then cutting off your spinnerbait and putting a different color spinnerbait on, cutting it off, putting a chatterbait on, cutting it off, putting a crankbait on, cutting it off, you know, changing all your different, you know, going through like 5 different plastics. Well, you're not fishing. You're getting further and further away from what you probably need to be doing, unless it's really obvious that the guy in the front of the boat is catching them, and you need to be doing something similar to him. But I think it's about just keeping something you got some confidence in. You know, are they on the bottom? Are they mid depth? Or are they top? You know, and then don't try something that you saw at the tackle store and it looked like it was the next best magic lure.
We've all done it.
I have too. I'm just, yeah, exactly. And it's easier. The easiest time to do it is when you're not getting a bite. You're like, surely something in this box is going to work. But a lot of times you just need to hunker down with your confidence bait, and it's either going to happen or it's not.
Yeah. Hey, what size was that jig you were showing?
What? Say that again.
What size was the jig you were just?
That is a 3/8 ounce.
That's a 3/8.
And it's the Procaster by Cumberland Pro, and it's got a nice eyeball on it. Some people like the eyeballs. I don't know if it makes a difference, but it's a good looking jig. It's got the recessed line tie, and this is actually a 60-degree hook in there. It looks like let me see if I can hold that up. It looks like a 30-degree line tie, but it's the way the the head is molded around the eye. You know, it gives it that 30-degree look, but it's actually a 60-degree line tie. And
Is that a number 3 hook?
I think it is. It's a Gamakatsu hook. It's a stout hook. I mean, it's
it's a good looking jig, man.
It sticks them. It pins them really, really good. And you know, you could probably throw this on braid. I mean, it's a really beefy hook. You know, it's not. But I say beefy. It's not like a heavy duty hook. It's a kind of a medium wire hook, but it's got it's a gammy hook. It's got good strength and it's really, really sharp. Okay. So I don't know. I like this jig a lot. I was just impressed with it. You know, when you take something out in a situation that you're just like, I'm going to be getting snagged a bunch. I'm fishing rock transitions. I'm dragging something that's lead and a hook on the bottom. I'm going to just, you're going to lose a couple of jigs. You're going to get hung up all the time. And as I kept going on fishing, I think it was like 3 hours into the day, and I still hadn't gotten hung up. And that's pretty nice. I thought it was cool. I'm like, dang, this is a pretty dang good jig. So I was happy with that. I just like whenever I find a tool that works in the situation, I think it's pretty cool to talk about it. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be throwing this sucker around. And that little speed crawl. I mean, gosh, we've talked about that before. That's such a multi-purpose bait, you know.
It's magic some days.
It's just
that's one of those baits they don't seem to get tired of. You know, it seems like the simple baits are the ones that tend to just kind of hold their worth. Seems like that's one of them. Yeah,
I've got that, the green pumpkin and the June bug and the speed crawl in my boat at all times. I mean, I think I keep one in my wallet just in case. Oh, he said, Tom says that John Sukup is leading the NPFL using his live scope. Yeah, that's right. They had the day one today. I didn't get a chance to see it.
I forgot about that. We're driving today.
I was really wanting to watch that.
What's the consensus? I'd like to hear some comments from whoever's listening. With I guess 3 pro circuits running at the same time.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time, and I don't, all these guys that are making a living doing it, I'm all for it, and if it creates more opportunity for guys to chase their dream, you can't badmouth it. I am a fan of the 5 fish thing, but I'm finding it hard for me to focus on 3 different series of tournaments. I'm just curious what other people think about that.
I'm curious to see how their live went, because that's from what I've heard. And as I'm saying this, I just remember that Mark Jeffries from Bass Talk Live is, I guess he fell or something, and he's in pretty bad shape right now. So prayers out to him. I hope he recovers soon. Matt Pangrack did a little video talking about it, and it's indefinite on when they're going to be doing the Bass Talk Live again. So that's something that was like my daily thing, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. I listened to that while I was in Liver Mill. So that's
they help me keep track of all that stuff going on too.
Super, super sad. But I remember Jeffrey saying how hard it is to do a live stream, because you've got to have really good cell phone signal. And then you've got all these boats going to different parts of the lake. And you know how it is out on the lake. There's 1 bar here. There's nothing here. There's 2 bars here. And it's just hard to make it all sync up.
And where are those guys at right now?
They are, I think they're on Eufaula. I'm pretty sure they are. Tom would know. He just posted that. But John Sukup is the Bass Tank dude. I think they're a electronics. Basically, if you shop with them and buy their, they'll put the electronics on you, and they kind of warranty their products, or they'll if anything messes up, they'll take care of it for you. But he's kind of an electronics guru, so I'm not surprised that he's winning or leading that with the live scope. I'm trying to see if anybody comments on. Let me catch up on these comments real quick. We'll blow through them real quick. Jay was wondering if you put a plastic chunk on the jig for distance. That hair jig you're talking about.
Put something. Yeah. You can put like a little piece of a Cinco or something on there. Jay Fighter does a really good job with the hair jig on one of the Bass University segments. You could probably Google that and look at that. And then also Hellabass, I think it was Hellabass had Gussie on, didn't he?
Yeah, he makes his
he talked about the hair jig for a while. And but that may be something out, and I don't know anything about Kansas, but that might be something maybe that's not as heard of out there. Maybe that, if it's a big smallmouth fishery, I don't know. I'm just guessing, but it'd be worth checking into. It might give you a leg up. Yeah.
Yeah. So you heard anything about bear hair jigs? Bass Guy 1960 says, "What about the stiffer hair jigs?" Saw a guy that was selling the bear hair jigs.
I have tried stiffered hair jigs, and it I don't like them as well. Just I really the marabou, that soft marabou, and the other thing with literally, and I shouldn't say this, but I'm going to. We will literally vertical jig that marabou. Just like Gussie did for those smallmouth over at Fort Loudon. When we see them, sometimes you'll see them on boulders on your electronics, and they won't bite a drop shot or whatever. Some days you can vertical jig that hair jig, and even when you're holding your rod tip really still, that marabou will undulate in the water, and all of a sudden you'll feel it feels exactly like a crappie bite. You feel this little tick, you lift up, and it's not a crappie.
Nice.
Yeah. So
marabou's the deal in your opinion.
Yeah, and in my short experience on a hair jig, I think the one thing I do different than a lot of the guys up there, I will throw a heavier jig than what they do. They'll throw a 16th or 3/16 at the heaviest. And I've actually had a lot of really good days on a 1/4 ounce, fishing some little bit deeper areas, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, Bruce, the photic period is the length of the days, length of sunlight. Johnny B nailed it right there. Colby Baker was asking, what were the water temperatures on Egypt? Might want to just kind of brief him on that really quick, and I'll look for some questions.
Upper end was solid low 50s. It might be a couple degrees warmer than that by now. Mid lake was upper 40s, basically. You could go in any of the creek arms, any of the necks, and find 50-degree water if you look, in the right spot. And then the dirty water all the way in the back, if in the afternoon, it would be mid 50s at least on a bright, sunny, warm day. It was really warming up. But in the morning, that stuff was, of course, it cools down. That shell water cools just as quickly. In the mornings, that stuff way in the back in the creeks was, upper 40s. So, but that should be starting to even out a little bit. If someone asked me what the water temperature of Egypt was, I would just say low 50s probably, right?
Low 50s. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris says he's got a tournament on Egypt April 17th. It should be good by then. It should be
oh yeah, it's
it should be on.
I'll be on crab. That's the Harkins Memorial.
Okay.
17th and 18th, or 16th and 17th, whatever that Saturday Sunday is.
See Sean, what's up, Sean? He might still be on here. We were further behind on the comments than I realized. People were piling them in here.
Hey, the guy mentioning Marion City Reservoir.
Sure, Dave.
Yeah, the Dave. that lake has been sold. The city sold the Marion City Reservoir to a private individual. And so I'm curious if there's any signage at the lake. There's going to be a point in time we're not allowed to fish it anymore, is what I'm getting at. Now I'm curious, if he's fishing it right now, kind of what information he has on that, because it's a good place to go in the spring.
Yeah, me and Dave have texted about that because he was the one that told me about that, and I don't think they have any signage on it yet. So everybody needs to crash that lake before they.
While you can.
Yeah, while you can. It's got some good ones in it. Apparently, I've seen some pictures. It's got some heads out of there. Riverbend bass in Egypt needs to ditch that rule so bad. That dock rule, the 10-foot dock rule. Has it always been like that?
Yeah, as far as I got a funny story on that real quick.
Okay.
So I can't remember if it was right before my days get mixed up. It was either right before or right after ice up. I was the only fool on the lake. I mean, I was just fishing because I wanted something to do. And I was down about halfway down the lake and fishing the cold water, and there wasn't a boat in a quarter mile. There wasn't. I don't think there was a boat on the lake. And all of a sudden, I hear, "Hey!" And I'm just going down the bank fishing, a steep bank. And I hear this guy yelling, "Hey!" And I look around and I look up, and you know how some of those houses sit way up above the docks. They got a really steep yard.
Yeah.
And the guy sticks his head out the window and says, "No fishing 10 feet from my dock." And I turned around and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was like, "Whatever, buddy." And you can't argue with them. I just leave, whatever. But
there's one lady down. If you're leaving the marina and you go past Clifty, and you cut in that little cut right there. It's before after Clifty, but before Three Buoys Point right there.
Yeah, I know you're talking about.
There's a lady back there, man. She will light you up. I've seen her out there drinking her morning coffee, and man, she's kind of got. It's almost like she's got one of those field view monoculars or whatever, where she's got it, laser dotted exactly 10 feet. And she's yelled at me a couple times, and I'm not even fishing the dock, I
get yelled at just by trolling by it.
Yeah. If I'm fishing the dock, you're going to see a jig go skipping up underneath the dock. I've told you that before. That's when I'm fishing the dock. If I'm just casting beside a dock, I'm not fishing the dock. I'm just fishing by it, basically. It might be 5 feet from the dock, but I'm not really fishing it.
Yeah, and people don't understand it, and they take the rule so literally. The rule was good intention. They were, my dad's had a home on the lake forever, and I've pulled lures off of this dock ropes and stuff, and that is a pain. So the rule was intentioned to protect the homeowner's property, and which you understand. But a lot of the folks on the lake, they're not fishermen. They don't really understand what fishing a dock means. And so they literally see a boat 10 feet from their dock and they start yelling out the window. And there's a few of them out there that are like that. And I used to get mad, but now I guess I've mellowed in my older age, and I just chuckle and whatever, just move on. It is what it is. I will say this though. As much as I don't like the rule and I wish they would change it, I do think it has protected a few fish. Because guys aren't beating the docks. I mean, guys still fish the docks a little bit, but the docks don't get pounded like they would otherwise. And there's not a lot of grass in the lake right now. So I do think it has protected a few fish. And if there's a benefit, that might be a benefit of it.
Mm-hmm. Jay says, did you see a couple of them guys catching them on the Fritz flat side 7? I'm not sure exactly what tournament you were talking about, but I threw that Fritz side 5 at Lake of the Ozarks that first day, and I was catching some fish on it. my boater was throwing a spinner bait, and man, those fish were super shallow, like 2 foot on a mud flat. 2 of them were drum, 2 of them were bass, but I think I caught two drum, 2 largemouth, and 1 white bass. But
I
that
bought a couple. I bought a couple of those Fritz sides for down here. I don't know. We'll see, but that seems to be a pretty good bait.
What's up, Fitz? Good to see you on here. Yeah, it's interesting. It's got a slow rise. Like when you get off of it and let it just back up, it really rises slow, which is what you want in cold water, keeping that fish's face.
You could almost, without a whole lot of work, make that thing suspend. I bet
you really could. It wouldn't take much.
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, he's talking about Wappapello. Andy's talking about Wappapello. I think Possum Creek, Sail Creek, Saudi Creek. No, maybe he's talking. Is that Gunnersville or Chickamauga? Saudi, I think, is Chickamauga. I don't know.
I don't know.
Somebody was saying that they just came back from Gunnersville and a trap and
Eelgrass.
Yeah. Fishing was slow. Everyone was throwing crankbaits on the bridges, but we caught them in the grass with swim baits and traps. So
yeah, I just noticed when I went and found the boat ramp this evening before I got dark, every place I went over the lake or drove along the lake, I didn't see one spot that didn't have grass in it. I mean, you could see it up on the surface of the water.
Nice.
And yeah,
so Luke Peterson says he's towing the boat through the area tomorrow. Is Egypt worth pulling over on my way home from Gunnersville?
Yeah, I think so. Gunnersville was tough, huh? Luke says.
It's because Ron wasn't down there yet.
No, I'm no threat to these fish. Maybe next. My goal is to absorb as much as I can, and if I can be fortunate enough to qualify for the Classic again next year, then come down here with a little bit more of a clue. But being said, it only takes 5 bites, so that could happen. Maybe I'll be the blind hog and get lucky. Who knows? So I'm looking forward to the challenge of it, though. Seriously. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I would stop at Egypt.
I would too. Especially if you're going, I don't know where you live at or whatever, but if you're going up 2457, it's just right there. It's literally, it'll take you 5 minutes to get to the boat ramp.
The lake might be primed right about now with this wind and warm weather. And
yeah, you might want to get a hotel.
Yeah.
Let's see. Sean said the live stream was a little bit laggy. I guess I'm assuming he's talking about the MPFL. And Google results for MPFL are Nigerian Professional Football League. Yeah, that's funny. I knew that too. Let me just catch up on any of these comments and we'll shut this sucker down. They were on Eufaula. Tom says yes, they were on Eufaula, the MPFL. Lake of Egypt. Yeah, we talked about somebody was asking about Lake of Egypt again. We kind of dove into some more Lake of Egypt right there at the beginning of this stream, and we talked a little bit about Kincaid and a little bit about Cedar. And we're gonna do this. If you guys weren't on here earlier, we're gonna try to do this every Wednesday, Thursday, and no later than Friday, and just give you guys just some weekly fishing reports. So like Ron said, if you're going out on the water, you'll have a little bit of idea of what to expect, just some water conditions. And another thing is, it's been really cool to see guys that are fishing lakes that we haven't had a chance to go to. Dave's been on Marion, and some people were talking about Kincaid. So that's kind of the ideal behind this, is me and Ron getting on here and kind of almost creating like a community of just local fishermen that can give weekly updates and help each other out.
So it's a good little chat room, so to speak, or whatever you want to call it. And things are changing so fast right now with the weather starting to warm up. So It'll be fun to keep track of it as it goes.
Heck yeah. I don't know what
Yeah.
this one means. That's my grandma, Gabe. I think I missed that one. Okay. Dave says he had a lady stomp her feet on her dock and scream, "You'll never catch any fish by my dock." It has to be the same lady, Gabe. Same area you're talking about. Yeah, that lady was pretty high strung, man. She needed a hobby because
Is this down there just past Clifty?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
I'm gonna have to fish that on purpose now.
She's jumped me twice, and it's been a couple years. I don't know. Maybe she just got so stressed out that she sold the house and moved to the country. I don't know, but she was pretty hardcore, man.
That's funny. Life is so short, and people get so upset about.
Yeah, no kidding, man. No kidding. Jay said Clearwater was good Sunday. He caught 26 on the jerkbait, super shallow. Yeah, good tournament, Jay. He had a bass. I think his bass club was down there, and he did good.
Hey, that hammy boy you got sitting on there.
Yeah, you know that guy.
That's one of the best sticks in Southern Illinois that no one knows about, and I'm not kidding you either.
Cool.
Yeah, he's a hammer. He had a good teacher. That guy can rack him up on grassy and cedar right there. So
it seems like a code, like a secret code name, or is that is that his name?
Well, it's half his name.
It's half his name. Okay.
Half his name.
Seems like some stealthy, sneaky name to me. So, well, cool, man. Grassy's a tough lake for me. I don't go over there but once or twice a year, but it's tough.
Dude, I swear to God, I gave you the key. The key was given to me, and I gave you the key.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I promise you that map works.
Okay, gotcha.
I promise. Yeah, and Hammy will attest to that. Yeah.
Well,
the Tom Seward map.
Then it's up to me to go see which locks the keys fit in.
Yeah, it takes a little time, but
yeah,
that map's legit.
Sean says that coughing was 48 to 50. So there's a coughing update, which is cool. Really, really cool. So let's hit this last comment from Luke, and then we'll get out of here. We've been on here for an hour and 37 minutes. I was just, originally we planned on being on here for about 30 minutes, but it's rolling good. So you just keep it going,
Yeah.
Luke says he was catching about 10 a day at Gunnersville. Not much over 3 pounds. The biggest was 4.5, but it seems like it's ready to pop.
Okay.
So,
all right.
It'll
be fun. I'll be able to. After I get out in the pond tomorrow, I'll be able to mark Gunnersville off the bucket list. So that'll be good.
Yep. And then I'll mark Mille Lacs off the bucket list later in May.
Dang right, buddy. I'm really looking forward to that.
I have too, man.
Yeah, that's going to be a blast, and you're going to be there. Well, the good thing is you're going to be there long enough where the weather will play, and we'll be able to fish every day, no matter what the wind does. But when that wind blows, the lake can fish a little small. I mean, 135,000 acres, you wouldn't think it would fish very small. But there's no place to hide out there. It's just a big oval. So when the wind blows, it can fish small. But you're going to be there. You're going to see some good stuff. Yeah, you'll have a grin when you go home.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I have a grin coming and grin going.
Yeah.
I almost tied on the Ned rig today at Wappapello on that river.
No, really?
Just to practice, just to get the feel, because I'm so excited about going to Mille Lacs.
Yeah. What's interesting, that Ned rig, the smallmouth, they bite a little different, and sometimes it's kind of a non-bite. They're just there. It's hard to kind of describe Now, sometimes they'll hammer that kind of bait and you'll feel it pretty good. But a lot of times it's a real subtle bite sometimes. But usually if they're in the right mood, they hold on to it. And so it doesn't really matter. You'll have a blast. You'll have a blast.
I'm stoked, man. I'm totally cannot wait. So
not that far away. You know what? We're not that far from that. You know, we got March and April to get through basically, and you're going to be packing Minnesota gear.
Yeah, you're right. It's coming up quick. It just turned March, like really quick. All of a sudden it was March, and you know, spring's right here. So it's awesome. Yeah. So, good luck tomorrow, man. I hope you start putting all the pieces together, and
we'll start. Yeah, I'll keep you updated.
Yeah,
and I'm not going to just scan tomorrow. I'm going to fish too. So I'm going to try and send you a fish picture.
Heck yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'll check my phone every 30 minutes.
All right.
So, all right, guys, we'll let you go, man. Thanks for hanging out with us, man. We had a lot of fun. It was a good time.
I really enjoy this. This is relaxing, and I'd be sitting on the phone talking to a buddy about fishing anyway. We might as well do
this. That's right. So, like I said earlier, we're gonna try to do this every, once a week, and then we've got the me and Backyard Bassin have the Monday night live stream. So it's at 7:30 Central. So be sure and check that out. We're trying to keep the guests rolling. Not sure who we got this Monday. I'm still kind of working on that. But the following Monday, we have Chad Morgan Taylor, who's a BASS pro. So, and he's a Southern Illinois guy. Ron knows him, or has met him, or knows a little bit about his background history. So
donated to him many times in the local tournaments down.
Yeah.
Back in the day. Good stick, good guy.
Yeah. So we'll try to keep this going. And like I said, man, thanks for everybody's getting on here, and check out R&D Outdoors if you need a trip up to Mille Lacs. My man can put you on some small ice.
Appreciate that, buddy. And to the guy going to Egypt, wagon's got the dirtiest water,
which means it's the warmest.
Yeah, probably. So
yeah. So all right, Ron, I'll let you go, man.
All right, y'all.
Okay. See you
later. Bye.